I'm listening to that. Obviously, the Champions League, but because of how the dynamics are changing, introducing one or two now, move from there. But I'm starting through some transfer stories, Vincent. Now, come Manchester United, Vincent. I'm presenting the untouchable lists about one thing. Players, I will believe you say, as you speak, no matter the amount you bring, they are not going to let these players go. Now, check squad waiting. The key figures in recent times, Harry Maguire, for now, one key figure within Manchester United, almost say untouchable. Amad Diallo, Bruno Fernandes, and Abrante Fesudogu. But player back Manchester United fans, be so convinced, say be a Manchester pay with man maintaining performance, no, Bruno Fernandes. Now recent times, no, player back pigeon the game, even when Manchester United are struggling, no, Abrante Fesudogu. Now always we say, the best transfer to do is to first maintain your best players. And the reason is everything. So maintain your best player and materially attractive to other players. Indeed, so Manchester United to maintain Bruno Fernandes. They can use his name to go and lobby for incoming players and mobile. In Tibia, some people Victor Osimhen. They can go and say, so as number 9, we have a certain Bruno Fernandes with more incisive passes to score. It's the moment of maintaining a system Bruno with your team, no Vincent, and more the confidence say on the lobbying market, no, you can lob and convince Obia say you are having a projector, some key players are there to make the team attractive. And then again, the next reason why I keep maintaining key players near say when you are going to make sure say you vie for economical viability, say be in terms of sponsorship. Maybe you want to qualify for champions, but some sponsors will always believe in some key players. In the moment of maintaining Bruno Fernandes, no, apart from several in terms of building your project, in terms of marketing wise, it will make it economically viable. And I believe that some Manchester paying for it will make sure that they will maintain Bruno Fernandes. A very good news. Me have said several times said if they fail to build a competitive team for Bruno Fernandes, our own free Manchester not going to be non Petrov Binge because Champions League in Bruno so. And I also believe that the players will be able to Champions League finals or in the semi-finals. Bruno Fernandes deserves to be there. I believe that some Manchester playing to build a very good team around him. You should find a way to go. But as you speak, he is part of the untouchable list. Now, I'll check on the lineup. Nidia. Apart from Bruno Fernandes and some players, they must up their game in some department. Number 9, Ronald and this is not Manchester standardized number 9 players that I'm using. Zegzim, and these are not players that's supposed to lead Manchester Lions, you know. And then again, Ruben Amorim had so pragmatic sense he don't want to change the style. Indeed, the wing backs in Mazraoui are not guys that can give you that tailor-made wing back defensive and attacking threat. No one to be from mount or more a half of a project. And I believe that if they want to maintain some players, you know, they should make sure that they will do a little shake-up and bring in good players that can facilitate the three-back system. I mean, I'm worried and I believe that if they do that, Manchester United can come good. But as you speak, the system cannot hold. And I believe that maintain your key players with Mabwa to lobby on the market and also make sure say your team will be very, very attractive on the transfer market. And for Manchester United, you know, Bruno is staying, I endorse it. But they should make sure say they can build a good project to cater for a brand to play at the highest level. Apart from Manchester United, in life, I believe say there is no bad player on the planet Earth. They only need system I will bring the best out of them. They only need an environment I best take the best within them to perform. In the typical example, check these two players. Coutinho was one of the X factors within English football. He designed a junction for himself. What you know how show. Boko Barcelona, no, the system could not cater for him. And Chelsea are a bad player, but the system there wasn't favorable in Timambo. Antoine Griezmann is the master of the system, no. Boko Barcelona, due to the poor system, and man cater for the quality in Timambo, but it doesn't show say or a bad player. Now, so check Rudiger. Before Thomas Tuchel entered to Chelsea, he was a laughing stock. He was, a pale shade of himself, even confident or no nibi. But Thomas Tuchel created a system for Rudiger, no, for now he's playing for Real Madrid. You can add a Ademola Lookman. Or then England far because the system was not catering for no Biafra was a bad player. But under Gianni Piero Gasperini, he's playing very well and he's giving numbers. Now the story of Trent Arnold to Real Madrid, listen. I'm over brave on defensive attributes. Now I believe, say, you can criticize him say defensively on Yadi. But ask yourself, system now how within no. Can the system cater for the best of quality? Now I've said several times, say, life after Carlo Ancelotti, no, Real Madrid are believing in Alonso. Now Javi actually clears and the system no open the full backs and I say wing backs no say they will be more forward thinking than defensive work no more. Into a system that can cater for Obia on offensive very good no. Into I think say if the project is going along with Javi Alonso, Trent Arnold is going to be a very perfect project for Real Madrid no. But one thing they said, so checking the numbers our Levy ever since I buy Liverpool from the junior team now, Vincent, it tells you say, apart from scoring goals, he's also assisting. In the song, Jimmy assisting, also making sure say, Obeba to make attacking philosophy work, you know, a bunch of first second and the Real Madrid for them. And then again, they are going to get an outlet player with a lot of dynamics in terms of set pieces. Player very good in terms of free kicks, you know, Elton Arnold. Now, be some recent times. Real Madrid any free kick is advantageous. A when able, a one of which I say, but if they are able to get a branch of friend and which I likely, no, or be adding a lot of dynamics, especially to be adding a lot of vibes when it comes to free kicks taking because one of the best free kick takers in the game you can get into. I believe so. So to me, call Real Madrid na say be a Javi Alonso dia. Listen, look at Grimaldo, look at Jeremy Frimpong. How add the attacking qualities into your game and they design their craft to a certain point. Say when you are mentioning forward thinking, attacking, bombing fullbacks, you add a branch for Jeremy Frimpong and Alex Grimaldo. And I believe that Sir Arnold gonna say, or within a system and defensive duties, and yet a key thing he's going to play and give Real Madrid numbers. And the club itself is going to make him huge and bigger than he is this time. I believe, say, Liverpool fans now within that time, no, I think, say, look, play a the mentality and obey dreams and dynamics in tea. So, Steven Gerrard at the nine, but no, stay. This is Trent Arnold, a different player altogether. They should pray for him, so shining. And even for the English culture, because they believe, say, they don't love to test different cultures. But recent times, Harry came in making sure say they will interrupt and relate. I think say Arnold Emovia is going to learn the Spanish culture, bring it back to benefit the English national team from a lot of perspective. I think say from defensively to this year, for me, Obet may improve it, but as to speak, if it's about Javi Alonso Vicent, he's going to be a perfect figure, a scoring and assisting, and again a set piece trigger for Real Madrid. I think say from there, Arnold will be a good signing, and the club is going to make him big and bigger again than he is right now from that perspective. But away from Trent Arnold Vicent, when we buy money kakra, based on weekends we results to buy, a clear Bayern Munich as champions of this season league, na Hurricane they are in case as say winning titles, but I dare back about the same company near Vicent. Wabobe a part of coaches are winning the league title in Germany in their first year. And what checking list where the ultimate say great coaches and they make his mark in the German Bundesliga. But we always say getting to the top is easier. But the credentials, the ingredients, and then the toughness to stay at the top, struggle to stay at the top. In T, my advice to Vincent Company near say. There are two ways as a coach to make it as a great coach, Vicent. It's either you go the Pep move way, and I say you go the Antonio Conte move way. Now, the big fishes when you say, so person a great coach, the apex and the champions, how you can dominate in Europe. In this Vicent company, person put it as part of great baby all those or person raising a banner. Or making sure say in the European nights, or say we show something, he must give a lot of returns to buy and for no. Vicent so on teams idea we are. Uncle the tough guys way no Antonio Conte with the recent. They will be specialists within the domestic league. In Serbia, so one team dominating Europe. You can move from Germany to Abia, Spain. Then you make sure to be a champion on them. You can move from Spain to England and make sure to be a champion. A bassa when you are mentioning top class coaches in the game, we can add your name. But as you speak, despite being part of coaches on the Bundesliga, winning title in their first season, especially the Bundesliga, no, but that mark to stay at the top of the vision or hear that credentials, no, either the big fishes way, Pep Guardiola way no to add Champions League 9 to their game, and now say obey Antonio Conte Mudiano on Koiro Konyashi, but domestically, the lecturer said he is the master of the domestic art. And I believe that the same company, the club is big and the club can make him great. And also make sure say which Martin function ability no ever from. But I believe that he can do it in two very forms, making sure he will dominate in Europe or making sure say obey a champion of the domestic league. How Antonio Conte, Max Allegri, suddenly from that perspective. I think from that perspective, no company. Look, you mentioned on about pick it to a certain point, but the mark near say the seasonal harvest of Bayern Munich is a champions. So I believe that. So until yes, I did not. Though they may say so on your good coach, but when he became an assessor, or you know, say, or a domestic specialist, we can give it to him. Say, on a coach, I think the future is very bright for him. I believe that with the Godfather Pep Guardiola, he can make it great from that perspective. Now to the Champions League. In 2010, Vincent, time at Jose Mourinho, Echo eliminate FC Barcelona or Camp Nou. Commented Nika Sembi Yente Crane and Twasso.
The most beautiful defeat of my career.
The former Barcelona interpreter has returned to the new camp to end Barcelona's dream.
And in that moment,
the most beautiful.
What's here commented and I will say, the former Barcelona interpreter came back and then was spoiling Barca dreams in the Champions League. Nah, the reason why people say the winners ever sent. Ever since Jose Mourinho, FC Barcelona the Camp Nou, Barcelona fans has been waiting for a moment to take a very perfect revenge against Inter Milan within a certain dynamics. And they believe, say, there's not going to be any better place to do it than to go and qualify El San Siro. In the game, no, a Bayer Barca fans in that delight, say, when you Jose Mourinho first be you move from Camp Nou, they also go and celebrate in front of the home fans. And Jose went with the dark heart, I will make sure say, or finding a way to get himself going. And I believe that Barcelona fans will be excited, say, so much we call in Inter Milan with that 3-3 down ball first leg to go and do it in front of the San Siro fans. Now it's going to be a very perfect way to make revenge against Inter Milan than wherever it takes to make it. But on the game, no service end. So check referee the game now. Barca fans say there was a day on the local room. He is having a certain mileage at Real Madrid. In the check picture way, the bag given a Real Madrid badge, and that's to say pan. They believe that. So once a name on Real Madrid, that is what they are sending to the entire world. Inti, a lot of things can factor in the game. Inti, it's going to be interesting from that perspective. No, in this Real Madrid coming on to Barca is also going to find a way to make it as clear. Real Madrid bad no more, and this is the referee all within the local room, all share the same environment.
That only may be.
Yeah.
Maybe this you are saying it is clear.
Yes.
But me, I had a bad picture. I'm not talking about yours.
Oh yeah.
I had a bad picture. I mentioned and G picture. I'm on for being bit to me. Or be that senior about 2 bags so.
I know. As you speak, we are talking about this referee having Real Madrid badge within the locker room. Indeed, that is the message Barca for person Sunday across. But into the game itself, Vicent. Vicent Obiasu.
Okay, Obiasu, I like that.
Game we on and that form. Nah, the first leg no. Actually, Claire say, Obiasu respecting him. Inter Milan actually Claire say they don't respect FC Barcelona regardless of the numbers and how huge a club in here. And the vice versa, Barcelona Claire say they don't respect Inter Milan and the vice versa. And the first leg no, 3 things they make a difference no. Individual brilliance, tactical dynamics, and movement. Into the reason why the first leg ended 3-3 say, in terms of individual quality, both teams no actually clear. In terms of tactical dynamics, we saw say both coaches gave us their best. And then again, in terms of movement, and as a movement, we saw say both coaches and both teams making sure that they will give us a perfect moment to ensure say things can move from that perspective. But apart from that, Barcelona moko interfere no. Inter Milan having a certain history in 3 years, say they struggle to lose games at home. Recent in 3 years. It tells you say when na Barcelona I believe say they can go and do it in front of the San Siro fans. No? It is evident say in 3 years Inter Milan are yet to concede defeat. That's a big hurdle for club first say Barcelona to go and do back. And just say it's undoable. They can go and do it because history and records are meant to be broken.
Is it limited to the Champions League?
Yes,
okay.
I mean Champions League specifically.
Okay.
But present, and I call Inter Milan training grounds. No, I see Benjamin Pavard. No, I say the left ankle no size no twice as big as the right one. Clearly, I brought him to make a game no, and the level of understanding na Pavard presented with the likes of a shape the back line no, is going to be lacking. Because he's been one player ever since I making that move to Inter Milan. No, we proven a certain cohesiveness. The Inter Milan backline always enjoy from. Inti the first leg do say and Bobby, but they were hoping say could that vibe never added to give that OCC watch honum. But the fact near say he's going to be missing, and maybe it can be a good news for FC Barcelona and the bad news for Inter Milan. But apart from that, there are some moments they are going to be very key in this game. If Barcelona can win, if Inter can win, this money very key. The first one is the Lamine Yamal factor, Vicent. Some qualities we are Vicent. You for tactics and limit your mo. You for tactics and cater for what they do. And don't forget. So check the first leg now. The reason why Inter Milan struggled here said this guy was on top of issues. He was on his elements or making sure say their back line or I believe say they are the best defenders in the game no. Or you're moving very well. Into the factor very key, especially in this second leg. Now, the first thing they see and yes, the reason why Inter Milan struggle here to contain Lamine Yamal was say Barca build up no, they are built out with the 3+3 man. Now 3+3 man no those kinis no. Into your best say now you get Lautaro Martinez and Marcus Thuram, they will play the 3 center backs of FC Barcelona. Because in the Barca will get numerical advantage. In the say now, the 2 top can't contain the 3 defenders of FC Barcelona. In the what they do near say, free Dumfries. But as a branch of DeMarco said, boy in terms of the offensive pressing. Yes, I know, expose Lamine Yamal against likes of Bastoni 1-on-1. Until they can get the next phase now. Ebasan Lamine Yamal was always 1-on-1 against the fullbacks of Inter Milan. In Sebasana, it was very difficult. Said they can stop in to check baby Dimarco Jana, not check Lamine Yamal, and check how we'll take on a branch of the Bastoni. It tells you said the first pressing schema Inter Milan using the first leg and bomb. But apart from that, so check here. In 2010, Jose experienced a certain gem and of finding a way to play Messi out. And that day, on making sure so we assigning at least 3 players on Messi. And just the principle was say Messi football person far from the flanks now they by into or football now limit him into the central zones. Now the funny thing here say in the first leg, Inter Milan suddenly against Lamine Yamal and foul. Now, mom the next phase listen any. This is Lamine Yamal with the ball. Check it. Apart from Bastoni, apart from Brentford friend said, I mean Dimarco no. Almost added Harry Mkhitaryan so boy in terms of adding numbers on Lamine Yamal. Oh yes, I did no. The movement of Pedri and security space behind a Brentford Dimarco. It is also limited Lamine Yamal. That 3-man principle limit no and fat because the first leg and fat. Into find a way to make sure so we contain the guy and the best way to contain is everything. Every player loves to have the ball. Into what you do is say limit the channels of supplies. The best way to limit Lamine Yamal is everything. Or football they are very dangerous. Into the best way near say limit baby a boss no far on the side no. We are side you can cut off the supplies to a branch of Lamine Yamal. The next thing you say Inter Milan in the first leg they did something very key. They believe in the right to left switches. As in say Sabon call the left side. Yeah, Barca committed a lot of players to that left side no. And you know a free play be on the far right. in the picture way where momenta Barcelona getting numbers on the ball carrier, but DiMarco now are very free. No, they were able to switch play and channel their balls into a branch of DiMarco, and they manage their way to get all the way. So in the game, no, the next thing Milan can capitalize on here, say, make sure say Ube containing a branch of Lamine Yamal and try to use the switches from left to right. You can expose FC Barcelona. The next one at the high line, listen. So what take a Barca high line now? Because it's easy to use. The players understood how to play the high line, how to minimize the distance, and how to make sure that they can expand the distance. You know? And several times, teams on which may exploit the Barca high line players are very fast and very technical and very aware of space. Now, Marcus Thuram can do something against FC Barcelona high line. Thinking capabilities, how they read space, how they can make sure they can do their judgment very well to make sure as a ball nearby they can anticipate the line, anticipate the last man and get the goal to score. And yes, they can get the high line, but they cannot exploit it. In Simone Inzaghi, when you want to believe on the high line, Barca knows how to play it, but find a way to make sure so what trigger the reading of the game abilities of a front line to get something promising from that high line. But apart from that, Barcelona are going to face the moment of height. As in say, in terms like bringing players, I've check on height. Marcus Thuram, checking the height.
1.92
yeah.
meters. 1.90, 1.90, 1.88, 1.96.
Yeah.
Hey!
Vicent, where players are enter a parody. Now the funny thing is, all these players, no, 4 of them, watch it all, into the kind of cross. And how our players be dominating area balls be very crucial. Indeed, those in recent times, sometimes struggle against some crosses. But I did very keen here say, Sebastian person take a moment. Crosses, especially high crosses, cannot benefit them because no player even Lewandowski cannot dominate against these players. So, to find a way to get grounded crosses, ever bringing the best from your team. Into apart from battling everything out in terms of nature. In terms of having players, I've said, more height, they can dominate the air, more that upper body strength to make sure say they can limit your runs and limit your supplies. But apart from that, listen, so check the next one now. After Saint Milan shared the first 2 goals, they did something and they conceded the second 2 goals. After scoring first 2 goals, they decided say they will go back and defend in the low block. The low block, they were defending and protecting zone 14. In Tebase, now you give the opponent confidence on for one in piano. And say no. Barca started with double pivot, Pedri and Frankie de Jong. But Inter Milan defending low no. Or making sure they free Pedri into the lines. No, making sure say Frankie de Jong will be the only outlet of balls now. Or best Pedri play no. In Tebase now, Pedri is having a lot of runs which might take off defenders and create chances. In the reason why Inter Milan goes out of scoring 2 years, they were defending and Barcelona threw more men up front, or making sure they were exploit spaces and get chances against Inter Milan. Internet, what Michel first goal, defending is going to help because the last time you defended very well, but they find a way to score against you. But apart from that, listen, so check FC Barcelona. The only person that believing in the is Hansi Flick. Because a coach Bakua, he's been through the tough times in terms of winning treble. In the stage, say, how did you need? But FC Barcelona for Munchem ye. Vicent. So what's the Barca in the same time, sir? Crosses your types. The in swing and the out swing. Now, FC Barcelona this season. So who provided out swing that Barca is to defend. Now, if they can give that graphic now, Vicent. So cross need free actually bar. Barcelona has struggled to defend against those crosses. Now, football technique will tell you, sir, the reason why it is difficult to defend such balls, sir, some trouble have sent is spinning away from the goal. In the best saying, I created confusion between the goalkeeper and then again the centre backs. In the reason why it is easy to defend in swing, sir, born across here, a ball on straight, but out swing, is spinning away from the goal. And look at that, check your branch of friends said, to run go no. How across no buy. Look at the Mago cross now Okoye no. And look at the third goal now, Barca and I say Inter Milan share no. A cross I always out and then swing in. In FC Barcelona, if you want to do something against Inter Milan, find a way to defend such crosses because Coach Ibako uses the SWOT analysis as Muni Inzaghi. Obe check your strength, weakness, no take opportunity, no ahead to. I believe, sir, listen, it's going to be a very dicey game, a very tough one, of course. But listen, there's no better place to do it than in the San Siro. I believe that. But one fact is, Barca for say, the last time Liverpool won the Premier League, listen, Hansi Flick won the treble. This season, Liverpool won it. They are blaming the treble. And they hope say it can come through from that perspective. Listen, my influence will face him. Yes, we did, snappy crowd. Yeah, version of your classic over the weekend, Basso. Now, after the game, so check the rapport now between both teams. And I tell you, say, the big teams are preaching unity and peace in our game. Because we are at a crossroad. The only thing we are all praying for, say, the fans can get that courage to come to the match venue. How the game environment is very conducive for everybody. And Karim Zito and Waka Watara making sure they will hug themselves and exchange words from that perspective. No? But there are some players who have Vincent. We have to give them their credit. The first one is Henry Ansu Vincent. Ever since Ansu making that move from Brekum Chelsea to Kotoko, he's been struggling. And the level of demand that no be expected say obey Peter and body one man, yes, sir. In they brought in somebody now, somebody buy none of far position. In the Ohana change only say for me no bones are blooming never pass it through. But that game against us a folk. And also actually Claire said the answer they know from Brekum Chelsea he's delivering. And how it may partner setting somebody Nella or me give you their numbers very good. And for me, one to other consistent ways because Kotoko fans are demand a lot from him. Okay. Apart from that, Colorado Yard Vincent. Some players need competition. Now time I'm over backline no. It be create a certain competition for a branch of friends say. I mean Colorado Yard. But over back on Vincent, go and look at the game. From that basket game now, boy, he's been a solid picker for. I mean, has a football no. But again, Babaya was the man. Vincent, we play about what I say. He is yet to give 20% of what Kotoko fans and Nimno Fan can face out. And all by a company, he can't score more than 3 goals. That's the problem. But that game against House of Folk, Vincent, there is no game that can give you more confidence than against a team like House of Folk. I believe, say, Nin coach Aba. So check the previous one. Ogu Martin said, "You should do one nine share but I believe, say, with a new coach and how I pick and read them, and coach naturally class, they want to rely on him more because on a lineup, we in team menu and branch friend said, I mean, Babaya, and I believe, say, that game against House of Folk on pounds on that confidence and I make sure say his game could not win for Kumasi Asante Kotoko Vincent.
Thank you very much, Daniel. And what the room